All right, Deputy, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can hear
All right.
you. I'm getting inmates out now.
Come out.
Yes.
It's a hand out to the shoulder. Okay, well, we're gonna get that for 3 rows right here. So, oh, we got enough. Hey, you're not even doing this right here. All of y'all, come on, everybody, come on. Ladies, right here. Are we on here?
No, you aren't on mute. Give me one moment, Deputy. One moment.
All right.
Wow.
Deputy, can you hear me now? Deputy, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, something's going on. Sorry, give me one minute. Okay. All right. I think I've got it together. All right, Deputy, everything good on your end?
Yes, Your Honor, we're ready.
All right. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's 11:02 a.m. Here it is August 28th of 2023, and this is first appearance here in Clayton County Magistrate Court. My name is I'm one of the associate magistrate court judges here, Judge Marcus Thorpe, and I will be discussing a few things here, ladies and gentlemen, before we actually begin discussing your charges and bond, as well as any other questions that you all may have here this morning. Now, as you know, again, this is first appearance. And I want to just make a couple of things clear. First of all, let me say that it being first appearance, that means I am here to do only a few things. That is to advise you of what you've been charged with, which is essentially what you've been arrested for, not necessarily what charges you may face if your case does move forward to either the Solicitor General, if you are charged with a misdemeanor, or the District Attorney's Office if you are charged with a felony. So ultimately, your charges may change. But for right now, I'm here to, one, tell you what you've been arrested for, two, to give you some important dates coming up soon, whether you are charged for a felony or a misdemeanor, but then also to advise you of your bond conditions, if you have any, and to explain those to you as well. I say that, ladies and gentlemen, because this is not your trial. And I want you to remember that, because this is not only being witnessed by several people online, as well as those people around you, but it's also being recorded. And so anything you say during the course of this court date this morning can and will be used against you in a court of law. So please, ladies and gentlemen, let's restrict our conversation to only those things regarding your bond conditions, or what you're charged with. As much as I know you want to, please don't tell me about what happened that night. Please don't tell me about anything that the officer told you or the other person who may have been involved in this case told you about what they intend to do going forward. Because again, those things can be used against you by someone who wants to review this, or someone who witnesses what you say here this morning. Now, as I mentioned to you, we are going to discuss your bond. Now, as a part of that, I will tell you what you are charged with, and then I will tell you how much your bond is. Now, there are some of you, ladies and gentlemen, who will not be able to make bond, either because I've given you a no bond, which means you are not entitled to one, either because of the allegations against you or because you're currently on probation. Now, if you do get a bond this morning, I'll tell you how much your total bond is. I'll tell you how much each charge is. And then finally, I'll tell you whether or not there are any special conditions a part of your bond. Now, what I mean by special conditions are these. There are some of you that are charged with offenses in which you were alleged to have engaged in a fight or an argument with someone else, or you were supposed to allege to have been in a place where you weren't supposed to be. If that is the case for you, I will tell you that in addition to your bond, you are not to either go back to that place, You are not to have contact with that person either by email, by fax, by text, by call, by message to somebody else to give it to them, by third-party message. Any way that I tell you, please do not have contact with that person if I tell you that that's one of your conditions of bond. If you do so, could be subject to an additional charge, a felony charge at that. So I want to make sure, again, when I tell you what your bond is, if I tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that you have a special condition on your bond as well, please adhere to it. Because the last thing you want to do is get out on bond on these current charges and end up facing more. Now, for those of you all that I do tell you have a bond here this morning, there are a few ways that you can make bond. The first way is to pay, of course, that bond in total in cash. So if I tell you that you have a $6,000 bond here this morning, I tell you have a special condition, and that's to stay away from your girlfriend or your boyfriend that you're involved in this with, and you want to pay the bond in cash, you or someone else other than that girlfriend or boyfriend can come up to the sheriff's office and pay the bond. The second way that you can make bond is if you contact, or someone on your behalf contacts, what is called a bonding company. Typically, a bonding company will ask that you put up anywhere from 10 to 15% of that bond. And once you do that, the bonding company will pay the rest to make sure that you come to court every time that you're supposed to. So that is an option. The final way that you can make bond is what is called a property bond. So if either you or someone you know has 3 times the amount of the bond in equity in their house, they can put up their house. And so let's use again that example. $6,000 bond, you're told to stay away from your boyfriend or girlfriend, you want to use a property bond. So either you or someone has to bring the deed to your house, as long as there is 3 times the amount of 6,000, so 18,000 in equity in that house, they can bring it up to the sheriff's office. The sheriff will hold on to it until your case is done. I also want to ask each of you, ladies and gentlemen, if you make bond either today or at some point on your case, I would strongly advise you, please contact the sheriff's office before you leave, or make sure that they know what your address is going to be. If your address is changing, or I tell you to stay away from a particular area and that's where you live, let them know if you know your address is going to change and you know where you're going to be. If you don't know that day, please call back up here or come back up here and let them know. And then that way you don't have to worry about later on not getting any court notices while your cases are in magistrate court, or before it goes to state court or superior court if you are charged with a misdemeanor or felony. Now, ladies and gentlemen, what we're going to do now is I'm going to have everybody please raise their right hand. Now, I'm going to repeat an oath, and once I'm done, if you would just simply say, "I do." Do each of you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give here this morning will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God? And if you do, say, "I do."
I do.
All right. Madam Deputy, so what we'd like to do, I know we have several females here this morning, so I'd love to get them up here first, if I could, please. All right, ma'am, can you hear me?
Yes,
Are you Miss Kiana Arellano?
yes,
Miss Arellano, you're charged with 1 count of battery. Your bond is in the amount of $3,500. Miss Arellano, you do have special conditions, and that's to stay away from the alleged person. I believe he got arrested too, Mr. Eric Wright. You're also to stay away from the address where this happened, 3194 Mount Zion Road. Do you understand that?
yes,
Now, Miss Arellano, if that's a place where you live, please understand, if you do in fact make this bond, ma'am, that you are to go over there to get items that you need, but you're only allowed to go over there if you are accompanied by the sheriff's office. Do you understand?
yes.
And so that means, again, if you make bond, you can't go by yourself, okay?
All right,
Now, I apologize, I didn't mention this at the beginning, but because you're charged with a misdemeanor, you have a right to a preliminary hearing. That's a hearing, it's not your trial, but it's a hearing where the judge comes and he listens to the police, and the police will tell him what evidence they have against you. But if you make your bond, you waive that hearing, you don't get it, okay? If you don't make it, you have a right to it. The other option is you can tell me, "Judge, I don't want my hearing, I want my case to go directly to the solicitor," and that typically makes your case move a little faster. Would you like to have that hearing, ma'am, or would you like to waive your right to that hearing?
I want to waive my rights to that hearing.
Okay, I'm gonna put down here that you've waived your right to the hearing. I also see here, ma'am,
I'm sorry, right here.
so Ms. Arellano, doesn't look like you filled out the information. Are you currently working?
No.
Okay, so I am, Miss Airline, gonna go ahead and appoint you a court-appointed lawyer here this morning. So again, if you should make this bond, you just want to keep in touch, make sure that we have your most recent address. And then that way they'll be able to contact you, okay?
Okay.
Do you have any questions for me, Miss Airlana?
No, sir.
All right, ma'am. Well, that's all I have for you, ma'am. Good luck to you.
Next,
Next up, I have Miss Nellie Hall.
when they move, the next person come up, okay?
Are you Miss Hall?
I am.
Ms. Hall, I have you here charged with 1 count of battery family violence. I've actually changed that charge, Ms. Hall, because there were some things that were missing in it. So you're now charged with 1 count of battery. You are to stay away from the alleged victim, Mr. Alexander Isaac. You're also to stay away from the address of 1117 Curtis Drive. If that's where you live, Ms. Hall, please understand, as I said earlier, if you have items there and you make your bond, that you can only go there with the sheriff's office. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Now, Ms. Hall, your bond is in the amount of $3,500, ma'am. Do you believe you'll be able to make bond?
With the bonding agency, I think I can.
Okay. Are you currently working, ma'am?
I'm self-employed.
And where do you work at? And what sort of work do you do, ma'am?
I do home cleaning.
Okay, and about how much do you earn per month?
Anywhere from 1,000 to 2.
Okay. So based on that, ma'am, I am gonna go ahead and appoint you a court-appointed lawyer here this morning. Now, I don't know if you heard me speaking to that young lady earlier, but I was talking about a preliminary hearing, which I failed to explain earlier to you all as a group. But a preliminary hearing is where you have the right, if you don't make your bond, to have the police officer come in. He presents the evidence to the court, and the court decides whether there's enough evidence. So you can either have that hearing, or you can waive your right, which moves your case a little faster, and I'll send it on up to the solicitor. Now, if you make your bond, you waive your right to that hearing anyhow. Which would you like to do, ma'am? Have your hearing or waive your hearing?
Oh, I'll waive it.
All right, ma'am. So I'm gonna put down here that you have waived your right to your hearing. Do you have any questions for me, ma'am?
Yes, I do. Is it just one misdemeanor charge?
Yes, ma'am. As of now, there is just 1 misdemeanor charge. But remember, this is just your first appearance, so that can change. But as of right now, you're just charged with the 1 misdemeanor.
Okay. That's
All right. All right. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
What's that?
Next up, I have Miss Evelyn Herbert. Ms. Herbert, you are charged with 1 count of driving with a suspended license for a bond of $1,500. You're charged with 1 count of obstruction for a bond of $5,500. And you are charged with 1 count of habitual violator for another bond of $5,500. So your total bond is $12,500. Do you understand that, ma'am?
Yes,
Are you currently working, ma'am?
yes.
And where do you work?
Got you breakfast bar.
I'm sorry?
Got you breakfast bar in Fayetteville, Georgia.
Okay, and about how much are you earning per month?
About 15. I work part-time.
So I am gonna go ahead and appoint you a court-appointed lawyer, ma'am. Now, because you are charged with a felony here this morning, you are gonna have a couple of important dates I want you to remember. The first is gonna be, if you don't make your bond, you're gonna have a preliminary hearing on September 27th of this year at 8:30 a.m. It's gonna be via Zoom. And you're also gonna have a bond hearing 2 days later, September 29th at 8:30 a.m. via Zoom. Do you understand that, ma'am?
Yes.
Do you have any questions about anything?
Um,
All right, ma'am. Well, that's all I have for you, ma'am. Good luck to you.
Yeah.
Next up, I have Lashari Kaczynski. Are you Ms. Kaczynski?
I am.
Ms. Kaczynski, you're charged with 1 count of aggravated assault. Your bond is in the amount of $50,000. Do you understand that, ma'am? You do have special conditions. They are to stay away from the alleged victim, D'Angelo Franklin, as well as the address of 681 Flint River Road, apartment 51A. So if you live there, ma'am, please remember that if and when you make bond, you are not allowed to return to that address unless you are accompanied by the sheriff's office. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Now, ma'am, are you currently working?
I'm not.
Okay, so I am gonna go ahead and appoint you based on that, a court-appointed lawyer this morning. So if in fact you make bond, please remember to keep in touch with them. Otherwise, they'll be in touch with you to discuss with you your case moving forward, okay? All right, so you got a couple of dates as well because you're charged with a felony that I need to make you aware of. If you don't make bond, you've got your preliminary hearing date coming up. That's going to be 9/27/29 at 8:30 a.m. So September 27th. And then you're going to also have a bond hearing 2 days later on 9/29. Do you understand that?
Yes.
All right, ma'am. Well, if you don't have any questions for me, ma'am, that's all I have for you. Thank you. Next up, I have Asiana Leslie. Are you Miss Leslie?
Yes, sir.
Miss Leslie, you are charged with 1 count of criminal damage as a misdemeanor. So essentially it's criminal trespass. Your bond is in the amount of $1,500. You're to stay away from the alleged victim, Mr. Eric Lewis, and the address of 278 Coverview Drive in Jonesboro. So ma'am, if that's where you live or resided at some point, please understand that I'm telling you that if you make your bond, you are not to return to that address until your case is closed. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Now, are you currently working, ma'am?
No, sir.
Okay, so I am gonna go ahead and appoint you a court-appointed lawyer this morning. I don't know if you heard me speaking to the ladies earlier about a preliminary hearing, but because you are charged with a misdemeanor, ma'am, you do have a right to a preliminary hearing. And what that means is either one of two things. If you don't make your bond, then there's a hearing set if you want it, where the officer has to come in and he's got to show what kind of evidence they have against you. If you don't want that hearing, you don't have to, and you can waive your right to it. And I'll send your case directly to the prosecutor's office, which does move it a little faster. So you have a right. Again, you have a couple choices. 1, I want to have the hearing. 2, I'd like to waive the hearing. What would you like to do this morning, ma'am?
I like to waive it.
Okay, I am gonna put here that you are waiving your hearing. And again, I am appointing you a court-appointed lawyer this morning. Your bond is in the amount of $1,500. So unless you have anything else for me, ma'am, that's all I have for you.
No, sir.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Next up, I have Cheyenne Nelson.
Yeah, I can move up.
And then after Miss Nelson, I have Monica Rice. Are you Miss Nelson?
Yes.
Miss Nelson, you are charged with 1 count of simple battery family violence. Your bond is in the amount of $3,500. You do have special conditions, and that's to stay away from Devin Boosie, Bousey, and Christy Reyes. Do you understand that?
Yes.
You're also to stay away from the address of 1504 Bonanza Church Road, where this was alleged to have happened. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Oh,
Now, let me ask, are you currently working, ma'am?
Yes.
Where do you work?
Family orthodontic. Leslie.
Okay, and what sort of work do you do there?
I'm a dental assistant.
Okay, how long have you worked there, ma'am?
About a year.
Okay, and about how much do you earn per month working there?
No,
about
that's saying that
2,000.
you're waiving your preliminary
You said about 3,000,
2,000.
2,000. Do you know if you'll still have that job if you're released?
Hopefully.
Okay. So right now, because you're in custody and you don't know how long you're going to be there, I'm going to go ahead and appoint you a court-appointed lawyer. Do you think you'll be able to make bond, ma'am?
Yes, maybe if I get what was the one that to give her 10%?
Yes, ma'am, the 10 to 15% with the bonding company.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, the last thing is, because you're charged with a misdemeanor, you do have a right to what is called a preliminary hearing. I don't know if you heard my explanation just now, but essentially it's a hearing if you don't make your bond, where the judge has got to listen to the officers say what evidence they have against you. It's not your trial, but it happens as an opportunity for them to review the evidence. You don't have to have the hearing. You can say, Judge, I don't want it. And then I just go ahead and I move your case directly to the solicitor. So it gets there a little quicker. Do you want to have your hearing, or do you want to waive your hearing? It's up to you.
I'll waive my hearing.
All right, ma'am. Well, I'm going to record here that you are waiving your hearing. Your bond is in the amount of $3,500. I've written down that you waived it and also advised you of your special conditions. So if you don't have anything else for me, ma'am, that's all I have for you. Good luck to you. Next up, I have Monica Rice.
awesome.
Are you Miss Rice?
Yes.
All right, Miss Rice, you are charged with 1 count of battery and 1 count of cruelty to children. Now, Ms. Rice, I had an opportunity to review your paperwork here this morning, and there is some information that an officer is required to provide in order to go forward on a charge. This officer in your case did not do that. Now, what that means for you, Ms. Rice, you are going to be released here today. As a result of that, I have dismissed your charges. But let me be clear, Ms. Rice, that doesn't mean that this case is gonna go away. Because it can still be picked up by the solicitor or by the DA's office, who both can take a look at this, make some changes, and decide they have enough evidence to bring this case back. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
So all I simply did was release you for the day. Don't let me tell you, hey, you don't have to worry about this anymore, or that this goes away, other than that it may go away here today, okay? All right, Ms. Rice, any questions I can answer for you, ma'am?
Oh, thank you.
All right, ma'am. So that's all I have for you. Good luck. All right.
All right, Judge, do you have, what's your last name?
Ms. Hamilton.
Hamilton and Smith. Yeah, 2 females left.
I have Smith. Give me 1 second on Hamilton. Can I get Ms. Smith up and then I'll search for Ms. Hamilton?
No problem.
Latoya Smith. Are you Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Smith, you're charged with 1 count of theft by receipt of stolen property and 1 count of driving with a suspended license. Your bond amount on the theft by receiving is $2,000. Your bond amount for the license charge is $1,500 for a total bond of $3,500, ma'am. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Now, when I was reviewing your charges, the theft by receipt of stolen property, ma'am, is a felony. So you are going to get some court dates coming up here if you don't make bond. Your first court date is going to be September 27th. That's going to be your preliminary hearing of this year at 8:30 a.m. via Zoom, like you are today. Your second court date, if you don't make your bond, is going to be 2 days later, the 29th at 8:30 a.m. via Zoom. Do you understand that?
Correct, I do.
Now, ma'am, looking at your information here, are you currently working?
No.
Highland.
So I am going to go ahead and appoint you a court-appointed lawyer here this morning. That's all I have for you, ma'am. Do you have any other questions for me?
No.
Ma'am, well, good luck to you.
Thank you.
And is it Kyrie Hamilton?
Yes. Yeah.
All right, Ms. Hamilton, if you would, you can step up.
Okay, roger.
All right, Ms. Hamilton, just give me 1 second here. I'm grabbing your paperwork.
Any person here, hold it.
They have to wait, we in court.
All right, so Ms. Hamilton, you are charged with counts of possession of a controlled substance via Schedule 1 or 2 and possession of less than 1 ounce of marijuana. As it relates to the possession of a controlled substance under Schedule 1, your bond amount is $3,500. For the second count of possession of a scheduled substance, your bond amount is also $3,500. And for the possession of marijuana less than 1 ounce, your bond amount is $1,000 for a total bond of $8,000, ma'am. Do you believe you'll be able to make bond?
Yes,
Okay. Are you currently working?
yes, I do live and also self-employment work, event planning, and I produce podcasts.
Okay, and about how much are you making per month?
I average about 1,200, 1,000. So
Okay, so I am gonna go ahead, ma'am, and appoint you a court-appointed lawyer this morning, okay?
okay.
And so what that means, ma'am, is if you in fact make that bond, whether you make it or not, you now have a lawyer free of charge through the county. So please make sure that you keep up with them, and if you make bond, make sure your information is correct, okay?
Okay.
Now, if you don't make your bond, you've got a couple of court dates coming up. That first one's going to be 9/27/23 at 8:30 a.m. via Zoom. That's your first appearance, 27th of next month. And the second is going to be on the 29th. That's your bond hearing where they'll review your bond again, okay?
Okay.
All right, ma'am. So that's all I have for you. Again, your bond is $8,000. I have appointed you a court-appointed lawyer this morning. You've got 2 dates, the 27th and the 29th of September. If you don't have any other questions for me, ma'am, that's all I have for you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, with the gentleman. First up, I have Mr. Divine Allen.
Alan.
Alan, you too.
And then after Allen, I have Antonio Boggs.
Bob.
Are you Mr. Allen? All right, Mr. Allen, you are charged with 1 count of public transit. Essentially, they were alleging that you jumped the turnstile at the train station. Do you understand that?
Sir.
All right, sir. So I've reviewed your information here, and I've gone ahead and made a decision on your case to let you know that you will be released here today, okay?
Thank you.
All right, now let me ask you this one question. Are you currently working, sir?
Yes, sir.
Where are you working?
Airport.
Just now, get a clerk. I can run it and pick up some.
And about how much are you making per month?
I just started working. I'm not too sure.
Okay. And I only ask that because I'm gonna go ahead and appoint you a court-appointed lawyer. So I'm releasing you today, but your case is not going away. It's still gonna be around, so I just want to make sure if you could afford a lawyer, but it sounds like you could use the assistance, so I'm gonna make sure we get you one, okay?
Thank you.
Now, the last thing I have for you, sir, and I didn't make this announcement earlier. Well, actually, never mind, because you're being released here today. So your prelim is gonna be waived. So, sir, that's all I have for you. I've given you a court-appointed lawyer. Your case is going to allow you to be released, but it will still be pending. And so make sure we have a good address for you, okay?
Okay.
All right, good luck to you, sir.
Appreciate it.
You go back and
Thank
see.
you.
Bob's, come on.
Next up, I have Mr. Boggs, and after Mr. Boggs is Mr. Larry Brazil. Are you Mr. Boggs?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Boggs, you are charged with 1 count of aggravated assault. You have special conditions to stay away from the alleged individual that you were involved in this assault with, and that's going to be Joshua Mitchell. Do you understand that?
Yes.
You also are to stay away from the particular alleged incident that this occurred at 2722, I believe it's Arctic Court in Morrow, Georgia. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Now, as far as your bond, sir, I have denied you bond this morning. So I've given you special conditions in case your bond is reviewed and you're given a bond at a later date. But based on my review of all the information that I have, you do not have a bond this morning. Now, are you currently working, sir?
Yes.
Where do you work?
At Piedmont Healthcare Atlanta,
Okay, how much are you making per month?
about 2,500,
All right. How long have you worked there?
about 5 years.
Okay, do you expect that they're going to allow you to return if at some point you're released?
No, if I don't, no, I don't know if I don't get a bond. I don't know if it's my job. There's a certain number of days they let you go.
Right, okay. So right now, let me say this, right now, you are above the threshold, which would allow me to appoint you a lawyer. If for some reason you ultimately are in there longer than and can't get out and you lose that job, you know, you can come back and they will appoint you a lawyer. But right now, I can't appoint you a lawyer, sir. You do have a couple of court dates coming up. Your preliminary hearing date, which is going to be 9/27/23 at 8:30. That's where they're going to review your bond. You also have a second opportunity for them to review your bond on 9/29 at 8:30 a.m. via Zoom. Do you understand that?
Yes.
All right, sir. Do you have any questions for me?
So wait, I can get a point lawyer. I can't.
Not at this point, sir. There's a certain threshold that I have to consider. And I understand it kind of puts you in a bind, but you know, you'll have an opportunity for them to review it, but as of today, I cannot.
I make a phone call.
I'm sorry.
We don't have anything to do with that.
All right. I believe that's all I have, sir. Good luck to you.
Brazil,
Next up, I have Larry Brazil and then Michael Brown. Are you Mr. Brazil?
Yeah.
Mr. Brazil, you're charged with 1 count of violation of Georgia Controlled Substances Act. Your bond amount is $10,000. You're charged with 1 count of possession with the intent to distribute. Your bond amount is $15,000. You're charged with speeding. Your bond amount on that is $2,500. And then you're finally charged with obstruction. Your bond amount is $2,500 there as well. Your total bond is going to be $30,000. Do you believe you'll be able to make bond, sir?
Yes.
Are you currently working?
Yes, sir.
Where are you working, sir? I'm sorry. And about how much are you earning per month?
About 18.
So I am gonna go ahead and appoint you a court-appointed lawyer here this morning. Do you understand that?
Sir, yeah.
Now, if in fact you are unable to make your bond, you've got a couple of court dates I need you to be aware of. Your first is gonna be your preliminary hearing. That's gonna be on 9/27/23, so next month, the 27th at 8:30 a.m. Your bond hearing date after that is going to be 9/29/23 at 8:30 a.m. Do you understand that? All right, if you don't have any questions for me, that's all I have, sir. Good luck to you.
Right there.
Next up is Michael Brown and then Shane Cote, COTE. Are you Mr. Brown?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Brown, you're charged with 1 count possession of less than 1 ounce. Your bond amount is $1,000. Do you believe you'll be able to make bond?
Yes.
Are you currently working, sir?
No, sir.
All right, so I am gonna appoint you a court-appointed lawyer here this morning, okay?
Yes, sir.
So if and when you make bond on this, sir, please make sure we have a good address and a good phone number to keep up with you. Now, I don't know if you heard me earlier, but I was talking to a couple of people about a preliminary hearing. So if you don't make your bond, you have a right to a hearing where the judge has to consider the evidence, not your trial, but the judge will consider the evidence against you that the officer will give him to determine if your case goes forward. You don't have to have that hearing. I can waive that hearing and I can send your case straight up to the prosecutor for consideration, okay? So given that information, would you like me to put you down to have the hearing or to waive the hearing and send it up to the prosecutor?
Just wait.
All right, sir, so I am gonna put down here that you've asked that I waive your hearing. Again, your bond is $1,000. You've waived your right to preliminary hearing, and I am gonna go ahead and appoint you a court-appointed lawyer this morning. So if you don't have anything else for me, sir, that's all I've got. Thank you. Next up, I have Shane Cote, COTE, and then after Mr. Cote, I have Brian Davis. Are you Mr. Cote? Mr. Cote, you're charged with 1 count of simple battery family violence. Your bond amount is $2,500. You're charged with 1 count of false imprisonment. Your bond amount on that is $10,000. And you're charged with 1 count of criminal trespass. Your bond amount is $3,500. Your total bond amount is $16,000. Do you believe you'll be able to make bond, sir?
No.
Okay, are you currently working?
Yes, but maybe not after today.
Okay. What are you you were in danger of losing your job if you didn't come to work?
Yeah.
And about how much are you making per month?
Between 800 and 12.
Okay, so I am gonna go ahead and appoint you a court-appointed lawyer based on that. So I need to tell you, in addition to your bond being at 16,000, you do have some special conditions. You got to stay away from the alleged victim, Ms. Kendra Heath, and from the address of 852 Garden Wall Boulevard, that specific building 0. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Now, if you do make your bond at some point, please understand and remember, as I said earlier, you're not to go to that address. So if you got items there that you need until this case is closed, you got to get in touch with the sheriff's office and they'll go out there with you to accompany you to that address. Do you understand?
Yes, John.
All right, lastly, sir, if you don't make your bond, I just need you to know you got 2 court dates coming up. That first is gonna be your preliminary hearing. That's gonna be on 9/27/29, so next month, 9/27/29, the next month, 23. And then your bond hearing day is going to be 2 days later, the 9/29. So again, your prelim on September 27th, your bond hearing September 29th. All right?
Thank you, John.
All right, good luck to you, sir. Next up, I have Mr. Brian Davis. And after that, I have Martez Jones. Are you Mr. Davis?
Have a seat.
Are you Mr. Davis?
So, yes, sir.
Mr. Davis, you were charged with 1 count of criminal trespass and 1 count of public transportation issue. And since that they said they were alleging that you continued to ride the train when you weren't supposed to. I've reviewed the information here and made the decision that you're going to be released today. Do you understand that?
So, yes, sir.
Are you currently working, sir?
Well, I had an interview today at this Chinese restaurant called
Okay.
what's it called? Panda Express.
Okay. So I want to be clear. You're being released. Your case is not being dismissed. So even though you're going home today, your case is still going. I've appointed you a court-appointed lawyer. I'm telling you this because we make sure that we've got a good address, good phone number for you. So if you are needed to be contacted either by your lawyer or by the court, we know where to send the notices and we know what number to call. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
All right, sir. Well, unless you have any questions for me, that's all I have for you, sir.
I just got one quick question.
Yes, sir.
How can a person be criminally trespassed if they haven't done anything criminally due to that point? Like,
All right, sir. So I'm not here to make that decision right now. Based on the information I have, I believe they had enough to charge you. But there will be an opportunity to review that at a later time with another judge.
Okay.
All right. Good luck to you, sir.
Thank you.
Next up, I have Martez Jones and then Julius McDonald.
Jones. Jones, what's your last name?
I can skip Jones if we got McDonald.
RH one, he RH one from first, please. Here you come, Judge.
Okay. Are you Mr. Jones?
I am.
Mr. Jones, you're charged with one count of impeding traffic flow and DUI. Your impeding traffic flow carries a bond of $500. The DUI $2,500 for a total bond of $3,000. Do you understand that?
Yes, you say 500.
500 and 2,500 for a bond of 3,000.
25, 35.
Okay. Do you believe
Alright.
you'll be able to make your bond?
I believe so, if I can get in contact with some people.
Okay. Are you currently working?
I'm not.
All right. So I am going to go ahead and appoint you a court-appointed lawyer this morning. Okay.
Okay.
Now, one last thing I need to ask you. I didn't announce this earlier, so I apologize, but if you don't make your bond, you're entitled to what is called a preliminary hearing. What that means is, if you don't make your bond, you're still in custody. The judge will have a hearing in the next 30 days and he'll listen to what the officer says and they'll determine if there's enough evidence to keep moving your case forward. Or I can send your case forward and let the prosecutor look at it. And that usually moves it a little faster, I want to be honest. So you have an option to have that hearing as we just discussed, or you can waive it and I'll send you straight to the prosecutor. Which would you like me to do? Have it or waive it?
Can you explain it one more time?
Sure. If you don't make your bond and you're still sitting in here, I can give you a right to a hearing. The judge will take a look at evidence against you and he'll determine if there's enough evidence to go forward and send your case to the prosecutor, right? Or I can go ahead and send it directly to the prosecutor and let them go ahead and decide if they want to charge you or not. So it's up to you. One moves a little faster than the other. One requires an extra step.
Okay, so they're both, there's both option, like if I don't make bail.
Yes, there are only options if you don't make your bail. Yes, sir. If you make your bail, you waive it automatically.
I don't really, yeah.
So why don't we do this, since I know you have some concern? I'll go ahead and set it for you. Your court date's going to be 9/26 of 23 at 8:30 a.m. And then that way, if you make your bond, you know that it's waived. If you don't make your bond and you're still sitting here, you got that court date coming up, okay?
Okay.
So I'll do it that way to make sure I protect you. All right. Any questions for me, sir?
That's so $3,000 for bond.
Yes, sir.
3,525, and then court date
September 26th.
September 26th. Okay. Thank you.
All right. All right.
All right.
All right. So next up, I have Julius McDonald. And after Julius McDonald, I have Edric Rogers. Are you Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald, you're charged with one count of violation of the Georgia Controlled Substances Act. Your bond is in the amount of $1,500. You're charged with one count of contributing to the delinquency of a minor, also a bond amount of $1,500. Finally, you are charged with possession of a weapon during the commission of a crime. That charge, however, was added incorrectly. So I have dismissed that charge. So you only have two charges remaining for a total bond of $3,000. Do you understand that?
Yes.
I did add a special condition, however. You are to stay away from 1915 Flat Shoals Road, Flat Shoals Park. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Now, you are charged with only misdemeanors at this time, which means you have a right to what is called a preliminary hearing, or you can waive that right. A preliminary hearing is a hearing where the judge here, magistrate court, will listen to the evidence that the officer gives them about you and determine if there's enough evidence to send your case to the prosecutor. Or we can skip that and go straight to the prosecutor. So it moves your case a little faster. Do you want to have that hearing or waive that hearing?
I just had it here.
Okay. So if you don't make your bond, your hearing is going to be set. It's going to be on in September of next year, sir. And that hearing date is going to be, I believe it's the 26th here, but let me just double check. Make sure. Yes, it's the 26th of next month. So September 26th of 2023. Do you understand that? All right. So it's going to be September 26th, 8:30 a.m. via Zoom. Then lastly, are you working?
I have an interview tomorrow.
Okay. So I am going to go ahead and appoint you a court-appointed lawyer here this morning based on that. since you're not currently working. So again, you're only charged with misdemeanors. Your bond amount is $3,000. I have appointed you a court-appointed lawyer here this morning to assist you on your case. Just a word of advice moving forward here. I know you're still early in life and you're only 18. But when people ask you questions, especially those in positions of authority, better to answer with yes sir, no sir, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, man. There you go. Good luck to you, Mr. McDonald.
All right.
All right, next up, I have Mr. Edric Rogers. And then after Mr. Rogers, I have Mr. Rashid Seals. Are you Mr. Rogers?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Rogers, you're charged with 1 count of criminal trespass. Your bond is in the amount of $5,000. You do have a special condition, and that's to stay away from 7390 Jonesboro Road. It's a quick trip. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Are you currently working, sir?
I'm in the process of looking for a job.
All right, so I am gonna go ahead and appoint you a court-appointed lawyer here this morning to assist you on your case, okay?
Yes, sir.
Now, because you are charged with a misdemeanor, you do have a right to a preliminary hearing. I'm not sure if you heard me just talking about it. So you don't have to have it if you don't want to, but you can if you do. Basically, it's a hearing where if you don't make your bond, the judge has got to listen to the evidence again and determine if there's enough evidence to move forward on your case, or if he wants to dismiss it. Now, if you want to have the hearing, we'll set it. If you don't want to have it, we'll go ahead and waive it and send it directly to the prosecutor, your case. So again, your choices are to have the hearing if you don't make bond or waive it. Which would you prefer to do, sir?
I'm gonna make bond, sir.
Okay, so then what we'll do is I'm gonna go ahead and put down here, it's my understanding that you want to waive that hearing. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, sir. So I'm putting down here that you have waived your right to your hearing. Again, you're charged with misdemeanors. I've appointed you a court-appointed lawyer this morning. And I've also advised you of your stay away condition. So unless you have anything else for me, sir, that's all I've got for you.
That's a question. Yeah, yes, sir. You said my bond 5,000. So how much I
Yes,
have to
sir.
come up with, sir?
Between 10 to 15%, so between 500 and 750.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
All right.
Next up, I have Mr. Rashad Seals. Rashad Seals. And after Mr. Seals will be Mr. Dravonta Walker. Are you Mr. Seals? Is that a yes?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Seals, you're charged with 1 count of aggravated assault, 1 count of battery, and 1 count of cruelty to children. The aggravated assault carries a bond of $50,000. The battery carries a count of $5,000, and the cruelty to children carries a bond of $5,000. So that's 50, 5, and 5. Your total bond is $60,000, sir. Do you believe you'll be able to make bond?
Oh,
Is that a yes or a no, sir?
So,
y'all speak up so he can hear.
Is that no?
yes, sir. No, sir.
Okay. Are you currently working, Mr. Seals?
Yes, sir.
All right, so I am gonna appoint you a court-appointed lawyer here this morning to assist you in your case. Now, you do have special conditions on your bond as well, sir. So if at some point you do make bond, you're to stay away from the alleged victim, Keandra Starr, and also the address of Lake Regency Drive. It looks like that's where she was living. If you were living there with her at some point and you make your bond, please understand, sir, you are not to go to that address unless you are accompanied by the sheriff's office. Do you understand that?
Sir.
All right, so that is all I have for you, sir. Only other thing I will tell you is because you're charged with a felony, and you're still in custody, if you're in custody this time next month, you've got 2 court dates. Your first is gonna be September 27th of 2023 at 8:30 a.m. That's gonna be your preliminary hearing. After that, you'll have 2 days later, your bond hearing on September 29th, all right?
Yes,
All
sir.
right, good luck to you, sir. Next up, I have Dravonta Walker, then DeAndre Watts. Are you Mr. Walker?
Sir.
Mr. Walker, you're charged with 1 count of battery, 1 count of trespass, and a 2nd count of trespass. The 1st count of battery carries a bond of $3,500. The 1st count of trespass carries a bond of $1,500. And the 2nd count of trespass carries a bond of $3,500. Your total bond is $8,500. Do you understand that? Do you believe you'll be able to make bond, sir?
How much is 10 or 15% of that?
10 to 15% is gonna be between $850 and $1,000.
I believe I'll be able to make it.
Okay. Are you currently working?
Yes.
Where do you work?
What?
Where do you work?
$20.
I'm sorry?
Boone and Nagu,
And how much do you make a month?
around 500 to 1,000.
Okay. So I am gonna go ahead and appoint you a court-appointed lawyer on your case, okay?
Mhm.
And so they'll be there to help you out as you go through this process with them. Do you understand?
I understand.
Now, the last thing I need to discuss with you is because you're only charged with misdemeanor, you have a right to what is called a preliminary hearing. That's a hearing where if you don't make bond, the judge here, magistrate court will listen to the evidence against you from the police officer to determine if there's enough for your case to go to the prosecutor, right? If you don't have enough, you could be released. Or I can send your information in your case straight to the prosecutor without that hearing. And then at that point, they'll decide if there's enough and whether to charge you and what to charge you with. So you can either have that hearing or you can waive that hearing. It's up to you. So your choices, have it or waive it. Which would you like, to have your preliminary hearing or waive your preliminary hearing? Then let me just add to that, if in fact you make bond, you automatically waive it as well. So you wouldn't have a right to it anyhow.
I
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and set that hearing for you. So again, remember, however, if you do end up making your bond, it's gonna automatically waive it. But your hearing is gonna be set for 9/26/2023. It's gonna be at 8:30 a.m. and that's gonna be via Zoom, okay? All right, sir. Well, unless you have anything else for me, again, the bond amount is 8,500. I've set that hearing for you. It's gonna be next month on the 26th. At 8:30 a.m. So unless you have anything else, good luck to you, sir.
I appreciate it.
All right, thank you, sir.
Oh. Are you already registered? You said that, you already registered.
All right, next up, I have Mr. DeAndre Watts. Are you Mr. Watts?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Watts, you're charged with one count of criminal trespass. Your bond amount is $1,500. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Now, you do have a special condition, and that's to stay away from the Atlanta Hartsfield Airport, but only when you are not there for either business, work, or travel. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Come on.
Now, are you currently working?
No, sir.
Okay, so I am gonna go ahead, sir, and appoint you a court-appointed lawyer to assist you on your case. Now, as I was just telling that gentleman there, you do have a right to what is called a preliminary hearing. It's a hearing where the officer will review your case, the judge will review your case and determine if there's enough evidence to go forward here in magistrate court, or I send your case directly to the solicitor, the prosecutor, for them to go ahead and review it. One just moves a little faster. That's really the big difference. So which would you prefer me to do? Do you want to have that hearing or waive that hearing?
I have it.
All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and set your hearing for you. It's gonna be September 26th of 2023. It's gonna be at 8:30 a.m. and that's gonna be via Zoom, okay?
Okay.
And that's only gonna happen if in fact you don't make bond. Do you understand that?
Okay.
All right, sir. Well, that's all I have for you, sir. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
This way.
After Mr. Watts here, I have a Stephen White. And after Mr. White, we should be to the last one. Oh, no, we've got two more. Eric White. Right.
Yes. Mhm.
Are you Mr. Stephen Wright?
Yes, sir.
White, excuse me.
White, W-H-I-T-E.
Yes, Mr. White. You were charged with one count here of false imprisonment and then one count of simple battery. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Now here, the allegations are that you were involved in an essentially a fight with another person by the name of Savannah Warren. Do you understand that?
No, that's not true.
Okay, now again, whether or not it's true or not is one thing. I'm just telling you what the allegations are. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so based on that, sir, I am gonna institute special conditions. And essentially that's going to advise that you stay away from this individual, Miss Savannah Warren. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Now, the allegations are that this also happened at the address of 7021 Terra Boulevard in Jonesboro, Georgia. So if that's where you live or were living prior to the time that you were taken into custody, please remember that if at some point you make bond on this, sir, that you are not to have any contact with this person or to go to that address unless you are accompanied by the sheriff's office here in Clayton County. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Now, as far as your bond amount, the first count is a false imprisonment. Your bond amount on that is going to be $25,000. And your bond amount on the simple battery is going to be $5,000 for a total bond of $30,000. Do you believe you'll be able to make bond, sir?
Say 25,000 for,
So 25 for the false imprisonment, 5 for the simple battery for a total of 30.
but the charge, that first charge itself, that's not even real. That was made
Okay,
up.
remember what I said earlier, man? I can't, you don't want to do that. Not with this being recorded, witnesses.
Just answer his question. Just answer his question.
So do you believe you'll be able to make bond?
Yes or no?
No, sir.
Okay, are you currently working?
No.
All right, so based on that, sir, I am gonna go ahead and appoint you a court-appointed lawyer this morning to assist you on your case, okay?
All right.
Now, I understand that you got some issues with the way that they've charged you, but right now, let me tell you, you're charged with a felony. So because you're charged with a felony, I've got to tell you about some court dates you got coming up. The first one is if you don't make bond, it's gonna be on September 27th of this month coming up at 8:30 a.m. via Zoom. That's called your preliminary hearing. After that, 2 days later, you're going to have your bond hearing on September 29th of 2023 at 8:30 a.m., where they can also review your bond on that date as well. Okay? You understand?
Sir.
Now, again, I've appointed you a court-appointed lawyer. So the best advice I can give you, Mr. White, I know you got some concerns. When that lawyer comes to speak with you, discuss with him your concerns, okay? They'll know how to assist you.
Sir.
All right, sir. You have a good one and good luck to you. Mr. Eric Wright.
Go in there.
Are you Mr. Wright?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Wright, I'm holding here allegations of a charge of simple battery. I believe you were involved in allegedly a fight with the Kiona Arellano.
Yes, sir.
Your bond amount is $3,500. You do have a stay away provision to stay away from Miss Arellano. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Now, from my review here, looks like you were living at this residence, and it may have been your residence. And so I did put a provision in place where Miss Arellano has to stay away from the residence. You do not at this point. So if you make bond, you're allowed to return to that residence, but she is not until this case is resolved. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
The other question I have for you, sir, again, your bond is $3,500. Do you believe you'll be able to make bond?
Yes, sir.
Are you currently working, sir?
No, sir.
So I am going to appoint you a court-appointed lawyer here this morning to assist you on your case. Now, lastly, because you are charged with misdemeanors, you have a right to what is called a preliminary hearing. And what happens in that hearing is either the judge will listen to the evidence that the officer tells him. It's not your trial, but it's a hearing, interlocutory hearing, where the judge listens and he determines if there's enough evidence to move your case to the prosecutor. Or I can skip that hearing for you, send it directly to the prosecutor. Biggest difference between the two is you just don't have that hearing and it moves your case a little faster.
It's like,
Now, I'm sorry.
it's like an indictment here.
Sort of, kind of for misdemeanors, but let me say this. Let me add one last thing to you. If you make your bond and you get out, you waive that hearing altogether, so you don't get it anyhow. I only say that because you mentioned you thought you'd be able to make bond. Which would you like to do? Would you like to waive that hearing or set that hearing?
You can wait to hear because I'm quite sure I make both.
Okay. So I've put down here that you wanted me to waive that hearing for you. Again, your bond amount is $3,500. I've set here that you waived it. I've given you a court-appointed lawyer. So unless, sir, you have any question for me, that's all I have for you.
Could you tell me how much they run, how much that is?
With the bonding company?
Yes, sir.
So at 10%, you're looking at 3,500, excuse me, 350. At 15, you're looking at 175, about 525.
Okay.
All right, thank you, sir. And then I believe that with Mr. Martin.
Oh, he's not.
Are you Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Is that yes, sir?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
So, Mr. Martin, you are what we call a fugitive from justice. What that essentially means is you had a warrant from another state. Looking at your warrant here, there was an allegation that you were arrested out of the state of Wisconsin. So it's nothing out of Clayton County, nothing out of the state of Georgia. Okay. Now, what happened is that somebody in Wisconsin is looking for you, the sheriff's office, and they have thus put this warrant out. So when you got pulled over or arrested, or you came into contact with the law enforcement in some way here in Georgia, it showed up, okay? So that's why they took you into custody. That's the first thing I need to let you know. Now, what happens from here? You got a couple of choices. The Wisconsin Sheriff's Office has either been notified or they're going to be called and told, hey, we got Mr. Martin in custody, and they're going to ask them, do you want him back to deal with your case? Okay. This is not the time to talk to me about what happened, whether it's true, whether it's not, plead guilty, all that stuff. What the time for is now is to determine if they're going to get you and when. Okay. Now, it gives you a couple of choices. You can tell me, Judge, I don't want to fight my right to go back. I want you to go ahead. I want you to send me back to Wisconsin, and I'll deal with the charges when I get there. Or you can say, Judge, I do want to fight whether I need to go. You're not fighting the charges, but you're fighting the process, whether the process is being carried out correctly. If you tell me, Judge, I want to fight it, then what can happen is we'll set a hearing date for you in the next 30 days. But if for some reason these 30 days pass and you still haven't had that hearing, the law actually says we can add another 30 days on. So you could end up being here potentially in custody for 60 days before you have that hearing about the process, about making sure that things are done correctly. Now, there is a third option that happens from time to time. You could tell me, Judge, go ahead, send me back. And now that those officers from Wisconsin, they got to come get you. If they don't come get you in 30 days, we release you. And then, you know, it's up to them again, okay? So again, your two options, Judge, send me back, and then we'll see if they come get you in 30 days. If not, they'll release you. Or Judge, I want to fight the process and make sure the process is correct. And if you say that, you'll either have your hearing in 30 days or 60 days before a determination is made as to whether you should go back to Wisconsin. Do you have any questions for me before you make your decision? I'm sorry?
I said the third one. Yes, sir.
Okay, so you want to waive the hearing and then just see if they come pick you up? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay. All right, Mr. Martin, before I put that down, do you have any questions?
No.
Okay, so what's going to happen then, Mr. Martin, is there's some paperwork that one of the deputies there are going to hand to you for you to sign, saying that you've waived your right to the hearing. Once you sign that paperwork, they're going to send it to me and I'll sign and you'll be good to go, okay? All right, thank you, Mr. Martin. Good luck to you.
All right, come on, you sign it right here. So you're gonna sign each one of these right here, okay, at the top.
All right.
That was everybody, are you good?
Yes, ma'am. All right, thank you so much.
You're welcome, enjoy your day.
Too. Bye-bye.